everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast, coast with the most, from the co-host with the most, here on The Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. Today is hump day. That's right. It is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But the fun is all in the trying.
Doing our best to bring you the weekend a little bit early, at least the attitude.
At least the attitude. Like, dude, thank God it's Wednesday.
Thank God it's Wednesday.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound quite the same.
Nope.
How you been, sir?
So
how was Civil Air Patrol yesterday?
Good. Some great future leaders of America right there that we're helping to facilitate their journey forward. So it's working out well. How's things going with you? I know we had a day or two off there unexpectedly. Are things going all right in the world of Craig?
All is well in the world of Craig. I got my internet Webernet issues fixed from Monday, and then yesterday, tons of stuff to report and talk on. So the folks kept me busy, and then now I'm back here with you. So all is well.
Gotcha. Yeah, we had Arms Room Radio live on Saturday here at the studio, and a giant lightning storm came through. Lost power like 2 times. So if you happen to be listening to the show, you heard us doing a little, coming in and out, partly there, some music, be returning. So Florida weather, you know how it is.
Yeah, well, it could be like California. It couldn't be worse than the California electrical grid. We'll put it that way.
Oh, no, definitely not. These are legitimate reasons for the power going out. Yeah.
Good stuff. Hey, before we get started, let's go ahead. First of all, let's get ready to get into the news. But before we do, Mike, why don't you go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors?
Yeah, let's say hi to our good friends over at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. You got yourself an AR. You probably have one of their barrels and don't even know it. You now go buy from them direct for your next AR build or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Make sure you keep your eye on the California 6th congressional race. If you want the best tactical concealed holster on the market, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWGholsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, all caps, no spaces. That's hogholsters.com. And if you want some awesome field gear, kind of gear you wear on your body, on your outside, on your clothes, some camping gear, hunting gear, all that kind of stuff, get on over to uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. Do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. Visit them today. All you got to do is follow the links in the description to this program, and it'll take you to their website. Check them out, and I promise you will like what you see there. And when you do, spend some money with them, and make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. Also, want to let you know, if you haven't already done so, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Encourage your friends to do the same. For those of you who do not know, who listen to us, we actually have a video program that you can watch. You can watch it on Rumble, on YouTube, on OpsLens, on Spotify. You can watch us on Facebook and on Twitter. Just look for 2A Views, The Rundown, 2A Views and Conservative News, and you'll find us. Now, for those of you who just watch us, but you want to listen to the program, go wherever you get your podcasts. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Wherever you get your podcasts, you will find The Rundown, 2A Views and Conservative News. We don't care how you partake. We just care that you partake and that you encourage your friends to do the same.
Craig, what about the folks that just watch us without the sound? They don't listen at all. Where do they go?
Well, they're probably awfully confused. because they don't know what we're saying. So we'll just, y'all just hop on your short yellow bus and it'll be okay. Remember to put your helmet on. And you'll be okay.
Don't forget your baseball. Don't forget your baseball.
Don't forget
They're probably reading the closed captioning at the bottom going, no, that can't be right. That can't be what he said. That can't be,
that can't be what he said.
That can't be what he said. Old Zach. What's he talking about?
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, well, Mike, let's go ahead and let's get into today's news stories. All right, the first news story. Well, for those of you who do not know, it is the 1-year anniversary of the Inflation Reduction Act. That's right, the bill that nobody, absolutely nobody, believes would reduce inflation at all, is now 1 year old. Remember, it passed. It was dubbed and named the Inflation Reduction Act. And once again, nobody believed that it would. And now, come to find out, even the guy who sponsored it, the President of the United States, even he didn't believe that it would reduce inflation. Check this out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really important point that you're making because the Democrats borrowed and spent $6 trillion on Joe Biden's watch. And now we know about all of this legislation that has already passed into law. How come that additional money wasn't part of the ask? President Biden just this week said that he regrets, his word, not mine, he regrets the title of his Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, this whole time we're talking about this Inflation Reduction Act supposed to be reducing inflation. Well, yesterday he says, I wish I hadn't called it that. It had less to do with reducing inflation than it does with providing alternatives that generate economic growth, Congressman. We know what that means. It means it's the green agenda.
Right. So that's exactly what it did. That's what we all knew it did. And Democrats lied. They flat out lied. The president flat out lied. Flat out lied. And now it's a year old. We're still paying way more for, I don't know, just about everything. Yep. Gas, groceries, energy. And yet and still, he's actually celebrating the passage of this bill, which, quite frankly, in the end is also going to wind up costing us all a lot more money.
Greg, there has been one significant decrease in costs, though, that I'm sure Democrats are celebrating still. And so don't forget that the price of bail has gone down or has been completely eliminated if you get arrested. So you have that going for you.
Okay, now, Mike, that actually is going. I think that is going to qualify as the ironic statement of the year.
Okay.
It's really going to be hard to beat that one.
Yeah, it's amazing. You go to his little quote there. Bring that quote back up, Craig.
Oh, I can't bring up the middle of the statement.
Okay. Well, it says that the goal is to bring down the costs by increasing costs. So it just I don't know what this guy's thinking or his handler's thinking, and I don't really think that the Democrats lied when they said this, except for the president and his handlers. I think every other Democrat in the world believed it. Well, if Joe said it, it must be real. It must be true. It must be true. I think that this one should have been titled "Bring Back Inflation Act" or "Build Back Inflation Act."
Nobody who understood basic economics believed that it would reduce inflation. It's basically we're going to increase costs, we're going to increase taxes on people, and that's what they really believe. That by increasing taxes, that'll bring down costs. Yeah, but that means then I have less money because I have less tax. You've taken my money in taxes.
Yeah, I don't think you need to understand economics on this. I think you just need to understand math. This was that simple. I have $2, and now you're going to charge me another $2, and yet I'm saving money. No, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it depends. Are we talking Common Core math, or are we talking the old math?
Yeah, listen, I don't have enough paper to do the new math.
Yeah. No. There's the old math, there's the new math, and then there's Common Core math.
Yeah. Okay. True. Yeah. I'll stick with the old math. That's the easy one.
You'll stick with the old math. 1 + 1 is 2. Let me keep my money, you shrew.
That's it. Exactly right. Go away. Go away.
Just do us all a favor and go where?
Yeah.
Away. Okay. Next story dem on dem violence over migrants. Now, it's not really violence because it's really political violence, but it's very interesting to watch Democrats turn on each other as they try to explain the migrant crisis in many of our big cities. They realize that they're just not. It's not working to blame Republicans. They're blaming Republicans, the Republican governors who are sending migrants to them. And people are recognizing, but yeah, they're dealing with millions. You're dealing with thousands. They're dealing with millions. So yeah, that's not really flying, especially when the two people who are sending the most migrants places are the Obama administration and the Democrat mayor of El Paso, Texas. So clearly that sort of argument and debate is not working out real well for them. So they've decided that the best thing for them to do now is to turn on each other. And that's where the Washington Free Beacon has a nice piece here. It says, Dems turn on each other over New York migrant crisis. New York's Democratic mayor is blaming New York City Mayor Eric Adams over the state's migrant crisis, while the mayor is pointing the finger at the Biden administration. In a Tuesday letter, lawyers representing Governor Kathy Hochul criticized Adams, a fellow Democrat, for his handling of the migrant crisis in his city. The letter argues the city's missteps led to a crisis-level shortage of housing for illegal immigrants. Quote, in particular, the city chose to send migrants to counties and localities outside of the city with little or no notice to or coordination with the state or those counties and localities. The state's counsel, Faith Gray, said in the letter, referencing Adams' practice of busing migrants out of his city into surrounding municipalities, which local officials have resisted. So, Mike, what they're saying is Eric Adams is basically doing what the mayor of El Paso, what the Biden administration has been doing, what the mainstream media has been going after Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott for doing. One thing that I will say, and I forgot who it was, and I think it was Chuck Todd, admitted, he said, maybe Greg Abbott was right, was that once blue cities and blue states had to deal with the migrant crisis, they would actually recognize it as, in fact, a crisis.
Yeah, absolutely right. And now remember, so you've got the Democrat governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, right, and you've got the Democrat mayor of New York City, not in agreement here. So what's at issue is that the Democrat, governor lives up in Albany, and nobody's sending migrants to Albany. It's not happening. Perhaps it should, Greg Abbott, wink, wink, nod, nod. But instead they're sending them to New York City because, it's the capital of the world, and they give us your poor, your weak, your jobless, or whatever we're using these days as the catchphrase. But the Democrat mayor of New York City was also a former NYPD police captain of New York City, and he knows if you sent him 20,000 homeless, jobless, can't speak English, never had a criminal history background check run on them before, sent to New York City, that's not going to solve any problems. Will there be a success story out of that, Craig? Sure. One of them is going to be a doctor and lawyers and Nobel Peace Prize. You're going to get some people out of there that work their butts off to live the American dream. And another 98% of them are going to drive down everything that New York City has become good for over the past couple of years. Well, previous to the Bloomberg and the administration of I'm trying to remember his German name, the last mayor in New York.
Oh, De Blasio?
Yeah. But I'm trying to remember he had a German name, his real name.
Oh,
he went with De Blasio because he thought it was more well ethnic to getting votes. He wanted an Italian sounding name.
Right.
Wilhelm was his last name. William Wilhelm.
Wow. Okay, that just
his real name. Yeah,
that's okay. If there's anyone out there actually named William Wilhelm other than him, I apologize for the statement, but that sounds kind of Nazi-ish.
Exactly right, which is why he should have.
It sounds like, like Dr. Mengele. It just sounds like someone who's participated in Nazi experiments.
Yep. Exactly right.
So I get why he changed it.
Yep. It was Warren Wilhelm Jr.
Wow. Warren Wilhelm Jr.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, like I said, and I think I think you and I agree on this. The reality is that how about this? How about you shut down the southern border? How about you stop just letting people in the country? And once again, I'm not even talking about curbing legal immigration. That's a whole nother discussion. I'm talking about how about just people just walking across our southern border? How about we stop that?
Yeah. No, they're not going to. They're not going to. Again, votes. I let you in. I give you a check. I send you wherever you want to go. You're going to vote for me because I'm going to send you in a state, by the way, that doesn't check ID and require you to be a citizen to vote.
But what's funny is that they're finding that a lot of these folks who are coming across are not voting with them. They're not, because they're also the ones that are pushing the idea that men can have babies, and that if you're they're pushing a bunch of stuff that these folks don't agree with. Let's put it that way.
Well, and you and I understand this, but the Democrat mentality is, here you go, here's a check, remember my name at vote time during election time.
Exactly. All right, next, for those of you who didn't know, suicides are up. And you knew what was going to happen. As soon as the stats came in from the CDC saying that suicides were up, they were going to blame, they were going to blame guns, right? And Nolte over at the folks over at Breitbart do a phenomenal job of tearing down this argument. It says basically, here's Nolte: fake media blame record suicide rates on guns. It says here, a record number of nearly 50,000 Americans took their own lives last year, and naturally the media blamed firearms. A main driver of suicide is growing availability of guns. Jill, I will not pronounce that name, Friedman, Senior Vice President of Research at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, told the Associated Press. Here's the logic from the far left AP to back that up. Suicide attempts involving guns end in death far more often than those with other means. In other words, they're saying people are more likely to be successful when they commit suicide with guns. So not that the attempt goes down, number of attempts go down, but the number of successful attempts goes down with or increases with access to firearms. It says, and I love this point. The easiest way to expose the stupidity behind that thinking is to apply a simple anti-science logic to something else. The increase in car accidents is caused by the availability of cars. I really don't think there needs to be an argument beyond that.
No, absolutely not. Listen, I've worked in and around the suicide awareness for years, and one thing I know is true is if someone's intent on committing suicide, the tool doesn't matter. They're going to find a way to try and complete that task. That by the way, it just happens to be very, very true. It's sad that it is true, but it does in fact happen to be very, very true. Yeah, it makes you, I don't know. When you're fighting and you're dealing with this sort of logic from some of these folks, you have to ask yourself, do they really care about people who are committing suicide? Are they really interested in preventing suicide? Or are they just intent on making their political point and hopefully trying to subvert the rights of citizens? It's to go after the gun, Craig. Nobody's out there wanting to ban bottles of aspirin or alcohol or bridges or swimming pools or any other way people commit suicide. It's all about the gun being the evil tool. So let's get rid of the gun. Yep.
I can't think of it any other way other than I can't think of it any other way other than that. And it's frustrating because it's like How many times are we going to have to make this statement, make a clarification? How can we have a debate or a conversation about something this important with people who refuse to actually be intellectually honest?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's they don't care, and it's the same thing with the red flag laws for them. Here's another tool to take away firearms. How about we actually deal with the mental health of the person?
Right, because
worry about getting the person some help rather than trying.
Right, because at no point in any of these red flag laws, or almost none of them, I haven't seen it yet. Is anyone actually provided with mental health assistance?
Right.
Right. No mental health professionals are involved anywhere in the process in any of these laws. Right. It's all about, once again, like you said, it's all about taking away the gun. And as long as taking away the gun is the emphasis, I will continue to oppose such measures.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, this last one was based on a piece out of the Washington Examiner, and it actually made a very, very interesting point. It's an opinion piece, but it's still based on some data that they share. And what they point out is Democrats and Republicans aren't divided by gender, as you know, they're divided by marriage. So, you know, most people want to believe that, well, you know, most women tend to vote Democrat, and most men tend to vote Republican. So let me just read this to you real quick. Politico's aversion to asking men to write. Oh, here's the thing. So there was a piece in Politico that they had written where Politico basically had them write about a piece about masculinity, right? They did a masculinity issue. It was a bunch of pieces about masculinity. Mike, they only had women writing the pieces. Only women were writing about masculinity. All right. Anyway, it says here, Politico's aversion to asking men to write about masculinity aside, one theme throughout the feature was that in Caitlin Fawcett's words, over the last few decades, women are voting for Democrats more, and men are usually sticking with Republicans. And when you look at just the top line numbers, that appears to be true. In 2022 House races, men nationally favored GOP by 14 points, while women favored Democrats by 8. But drill a little deeper in the picture becomes a little more complicated. Adding marital status to the mix, the GOP advantage among married men shoots up to 20 points and shrinks among unmarried men to just 7 points. So it's still Republican leaning. But what most people don't know, including everyone who works at Politico, apparently is that among married women, Republicans still maintain a sizable 14-point advantage. But if Republicans are winning married men by 20 points, married women by 14 points, and unmarried men by 7 points, who is keeping Democrats competitive? You got it. Single women are single-handedly saving the Democratic Party by a 37-point margin. That's 68% to 31%. Single women overwhelmingly pulled the lever for Democrats. Now, Mike, I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day, Barack Obama had a video. He had a display, not a display, it was a presentation that talked about a single woman. I don't remember what her name is, but it literally showed how the Obama administration took, say it again?
Julia.
It showed how Julia would be taken care of from cradle to grave. Not a man in sight, right? And then Biden repeated the same thing with another woman. But Mike, I guess what I'm seeing here is that if it is single women who are single-handedly keeping the Democratic Party afloat.
It's amazing how they promoted chauvinism when it worked for them, right? Well, yeah, listen, you're going to be taken care of. It's okay. So keep voting Democrat, and not realizing, what that meant. There wasn't any magic fairy that came down and took care of them. It was a ridiculous piece and a brainwashed. It's what, again, what they decided to do. I'm sure Eric Holder had his hands in it as well. Coming up with a little bit of the brainwashing techniques that they use. Craig, I see the numbers, and again, it's one report, it's one poll. I'll take a look at it. It's very interesting, and it's definitely something that I plan to check on further in the future to start to track, because this sounds, like you said, a story written by single women and trying to give some credence to single women as the savior of the Democrat Party.
Well, no, but I mean, the point is, so here's the interesting thing. So the message to the Democrat Party. This is an opinion piece in the Washington Examiner, but it says the message to the Democratic Party for men is clear. You are at best worthless. Democratic Party programs have empowered women to procreate without you entirely. In fact, most likely, you are a #MeToo pervert who needs to be punished without due process by a college inquisition board. If you want to, you can be a silent ally for women's causes, but please don't ever talk. We've heard enough from the patriarchy already.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you could have said it better. It's pretty right on.
That's how the Democratic Party feels about men.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah. There is a reason why they are working to feminize men or feminize boys. And that's what the whole educational process right now seems to be geared towards, is feminizing boys. And oddly enough, making women seem irrelevant, which is odd. But I think that's one of the reasons why there's this big, huge push every election cycle right now about abortion, because they realize single women and black voters are the only two groups that are steadfastly still voting their way.
And let's be clear. Listen, if those numbers were reversed, and it was, white men or single men that were the predominant of the vote, then they would cast the women to the side. The Democrat Party is all about taking care of those that are lying to take care about those that vote for them, and throwing everybody else to the curb is wrong. They'd find a reason to tell you why single women were the end of society.
Yep.
If it was the other way around.
Yes, they would. Yes, most definitely they would. All right, it's about that time for us to pull up our parting shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. Get your Hog Holster at hogholster.com. Make sure you use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. All right, we only got a couple of them for you, and these are both courtesy of my good friend, Mr. Mike Piwowarski. Here be the first one. Okay, on the left you have Jason Momoa, Aquaman, however you want to refer to him. It says your immune system without COVID vaccine. And the other one, I'm trying to think about. I know that's Rob Schneider, but what character is he playing in that? Do you remember?
That was in 50 First Dates when he was in Hawaii with the Adam Sandler movie.
Okay, yeah. So imagine that with like one eye with a cataract.
Yep. Yep.
Your immune system with the COVID vaccine.
And I thought this was pertinent because more and more we keep seeing stories of, the vaccine, all the bad things come with the vaccine fog and the personality changes in people that have had just so many of these horror stories. It reminds me a lot, Craig, of after the Gulf War, after Desert Storm, where we had, Gulf War syndrome and nobody believed it. And it took 10 years for it to be proven and almost 20 years for the government to recognize it. That's what I think we're going to see with the vaccine effect.
Well, just folks, I guess, are just in denial.
Yep.
I guess they're just in denial. Don't know what to tell you. All right, this next one. This is a tweet. It says, a girl at the cinema didn't wear pink for Barbie. I saw them take her out back and heard gunshots.
It's a pretty aggressive crowd.
If you're not going to be appropriately indoctrinated, you shouldn't bother showing up.
Yep.
You got to wear the uniform,
exactly.
Folks. Got to wear the uniform.
That's it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, hey, that's all we got for you today. So, Mike, why don't you go ahead and give the folks a shout out to our sponsors before we leave?
Sure. Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. You can get rifle and pistol length barrels and rifle and pistol calibers. Check them out at hitmanindustries.net. net, soon to come Glock barrels. You've got California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Make sure you check out California's 6th congressional race. And of course, if you want some go into the field gear, what's that mean? It means everything but the gun. Okay. Go over there and check out uscombatgear.com.
Folks, do us a favor, do yourself a favor. Visit them. All you got to do is follow the links in the description of this program. Spend some money with them. Make sure you tell them the guys over at the Rundown sent you. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back mañana, which I believe is Throat Punch Thursday. Watcha!